Welcome back to We Like That podcast.
Because we like that. I'm Joe,
And I'm Calvin,
and welcome back to We Like That podcast.
because we like that.
How was your week?
Fast. Great. Good.
Ooh, I would love
Awesome.
it to be fast. My week sucked. Went to the dentist, found out I have a cavity, and now we have to schedule
What's new?
ways to take care of that.
What's,
I haven't had a cavity in like 7 years.
What's new? What's new?
And you know where the cavity is?
Get back of your mouth.
No, it's in front. It's right under one of my little, whatever these things are, brackets, whatever they are, for my Invisalign. They're like, it's pretty common. What? So, great. So,
Yeah, it's common if you eat a lot of sweets.
it's not common if you just eat sweets.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, Calvin. Anywho, I'm so glad I can tell you my troubles, and you are not biased. So,
I just said I'm not shocked.
further proving my point. All right, so
You're right. Proving your point always.
moving on. Michael Jackson's movie has dropped. Critics hate it, but fans think it's okay. It went from like highly lauded to like, it's fine.
I don't know what people were expecting.
They were expecting a tell all. They were expecting to like learn new information that they had never learned about Michael before. That's what they were expecting.
You're not going to get that.
They don't even really get that far. Basically, it's like the American Dream gave you more information at this point than this movie does, apparently.
Didn't I tell you that was going to happen?
I don't know.
We had a conversation about this. You said, what do you think?
You said they weren't going to tell anything new, and you were right. But I don't remember you saying exactly verbatim what I just said.
But basically what I was saying, I don't think they're going to touch on nothing.
Okay.
Period. I think it's going to be just about the music, and that's about it.
It's not even about the music, so some people are really mad about that. It's not even really about the music.
Okay, then. All I know, I expected them to do something in between American Dream and whatever Michael Jackson documentary they had out before or movie they had before American Dream.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Because I know his estate, who signed off on it,
Mm-hmm.
his family, is not going to be putting out nothing crazy.
Inflammatory, absolutely not. I think they thought they were going to get more information about like the death of Michael.
No.
Nothing.
No.
So,
first of all, why do you really think the family want to relive that?
but apparently also there's like some inconsistencies. Like apparently they show that like not Jermaine, the younger brother. What's the younger brother? Is it
Jackie?
No,
not Jackie.
It starts with the M.
Marlon.
That one. Apparently Marlon can outdance Michael. It's something that it alludes that Marlon could outdance Michael, and people are like, since when? So
Maybe when they were younger.
Apparently there's a scene where either Jermaine or Marlon like just drops into a split, and people are like, okay. So there's a guy on here who's a heavily invested Michael Jackson superfan, and he wrote a list of inconsistencies from the movie. He doesn't like how they don't really talk about the relationship Michael had with Quincy Jones, because they kind of just brush over that and move into something else. But I mean, to the extent of you saying you're not going to get anything new, you were right.
I think they
locked that
wanted to
down.
make something that was different from what we've seen
I think they just wanted to make something that had one of their own family members in it.
and pictured Michael in a good light.
So the other thing is the person that plays Michael is actually Michael's nephew. He's Jermaine's son, whose name I can't recall right now. I'm so sorry. But
Tasman.
I don't think it's Tasman. Everything starts with a J for Jermaine's kids. There's a Jamajesty.
Chittaquase.
Something of that nature. But apparently he does a great job of portraying Michael. Like that's something that everybody can agree on, critics and fans alike. His portrayal of Michael is very, very good.
Whatever.
But the story, they're like, it's a story.
I don't.
Will it? So my question is it going to stop you from watching it?
Me?
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to watch it anyway, really.
Uh-huh.
If I go watch it, I go watch it. If I don't, I don't.
Okay. I kind of wanted to watch it for myself so I can make my own judgment and see
But my thing was, I was not expecting anything. You people set yourself up for this. I don't know what you thought you was going to get. I knew the family wasn't going to touch on anything that we wanted to touch on.
Again, I think people are allowed to have feelings. They're allowed to have their own expectations about stuff. I don't think there's a law against having your own thoughts on things.
That's not my point. My point is, when has this family ever really came out and said anything or touched on anything since Michael's death or
Have you
anything with
seen any
Michael?
of the promos for this film? The trailers
Yes,
or you've seen everything?
I've seen a couple of trailers. Probably the main ones that they always show.
There is an illusion in the trailers and like the little 30-second segments that you're going to learn something. They allude to the fact that you might gain more information. I guess for me, it's confusing because they knew who the audience was going to be for Michael. It's not going to be new Michael fans because it's been a minute, unfortunately, since this man has passed. Majority of the people that are invested and interested in the show are people who already were fans of Michael. It makes it sound like this is going to be something new for his fans. And in a technicality, it is something new because it's a new film for Michael Jackson. But it's basically not even the same stuff. It's like a mix mash of other stuff. So I can understand being like, oh, this is exciting. Then you go and watch it and you're like, oh, no, okay, it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Sure.
All right.
I just think.
But I also don't fault the estate for protecting their own because that's what they've been doing, like you said.
Sounds like to me they wanted to put out a movie celebrating Michael. It was an easy way to get one of the kids who probably wanted to be an actor into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened. They played on the premise of people wanting to possibly to give some background into something or allude to something new or going into some detail of some stuff. They use that to their advantage and people wanting to possibly learn out something new.
I think it also is a testament to Michael's legacy that this is such relevant news. He's literally not on this earth anymore.
I think they already knew that part to some extent, that people would want to see a Michael Jackson movie, and people will come out to see it. So I think they used all of that, and to get a family member who probably wanted, like I said, wanted to be an actor.
It makes me wonder if it was that, like just nepotism, or were they approached by a studio that was like, "Hey, we want to make a movie about Michael," and they were like, "We want it through our voice. How about one of our kids?"
Everything could be true. I think it was all of the above. I think someone approached him.
And apparently he doesn't do a bad job, so.
I think someone approached him. Jermaine was like, okay, well, Jazzmatazz wants to be an actor. We can train him and trying to teach him how Michael did or whatever. Show him some things of Michael's. Maybe he'll pick it up because he dances. He can sing a little.
I kind of feel bad for these kids. I'm sure it's not a situation where like he had to suddenly study. I'm sure a lot of these nieces and nephews of his know a lot of his stuff inside and out.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm assuming you're most likely 100% right.
Because I want to say, is it 3T, 3J?
3T.
They were all Jermaine's. No, I think 2 were Jermaine's sons and 1 was Tito's.
So, like I said, I think it was all the above. I'll say that I'm not shocked that they didn't put anything relevant into the movie. I'm shocked that it's not more musically based. Like you said, it's not really touching about behind the scenes of the music or anything like that.
It touches on some of the behind the scenes, but apparently it glosses over a lot. To me, it sounds like it's basically the Selena Quintanilla.
How much music
season
of Michael Jackson did people think they were going to try to put into this movie?
I don't think they're upset that the music's not there. I think they're upset that they're not doing a deep dive into anything. And then 2, they're glossing over a lot of his relationships and how he made his music. They don't really go into any of the details for that.
Is Joe Jackson still alive?
No.
Is Michael Jackson's mom still alive?
Yes.
Okay. This family is very protective. If we don't know that. I don't know how we
That's
don't
how
know
it
that
was
already.
with Selena's. When Netflix did her show, people weren't happy with that show
And that
because it just all it did was frame her in like the best princess, most obedient daughter light.
and that's what I was getting to. Why did we think this was going to be any different?
Because it has in the past.
Has what?
Stories around Michael or films about Michael, it has been different.
Because people
American Dream was the first time we got a look that they were facing any kind of abuse.
who think the family was involved in that movie probably.
Allegedly, they were, but allegedly they got bamboozled.
Exactly.
But they were attached.
But they were lied to. Once again, they were lied to.
But they were attached.
Technically, they probably didn't even like the American Dream.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, all the other stuff you talking about was Michael doing interviews and people using those interviews against him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying Michael wasn't saying crazy stuff in those interviews.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying that's what have people got to him, got close to him, and then pretty much kind of did a hit piece. But I'm not gonna sit and act like Michael wasn't a part of it himself. With the way he was phrasing and saying things.
I don't know what point you're making.
My point is, they had seems like they had complete control of this one. So if they had complete control, I wasn't expecting nothing. And it sounds like they had complete control because Jermaine was doing some stuff.
I'm not saying they're saying anything derogatory.
But that's all I'm saying. My thing, my whole thing is I didn't expect anything too revealing. That's what I say.
To come out of it.
Yes.
It is interesting.
Now them not touching really on the music is it that they didn't really touch on music? Is it the songs that they chose people didn't like?
I don't know where you're going with they didn't touch on the music.
Well,
I said they didn't talk about his relationship with his different relationships with the producers that made his music. It's not that they didn't touch on the music at all. They weren't talking about how prominent Quincy Jones was in his attempts to go solo and make his albums.
Did people forget that Quincy Jones was talking a lot of bashing the mic a lot before he died?
Was he bashing him?
Yeah.
Was it bashing?
He was like, Michael Jackson wasn't that talented. Quincy Jones was saying a lot of stuff.
He definitely was talking a lot, but I don't remember him saying Michael Jackson's not talented.
He was saying a lot of stuff about some stuff about Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people saw as negative. I would say that.
Okay.
So I'm not too shocked, but I guess I don't know.
You said I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought people would be more. I thought people was like the songs that they chose weren't like, you know what I'm saying. And it's hard to choose pivoted songs that.
Oh, Jafar. His name is Jafar Jackson. That's who plays Michael.
Jasmine Taz was close enough. Isn't that the dude from Arabian Night?
Jafar is from Aladdin.
Aladdin, yeah, that's him. Yeah,
but his spelling is the traditional Mid Eastern.
But yeah, because that's what they went to.
Middle East.
That's
but the spelling in Aladdin is the Americanized.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Whatever, sure. I don't know. I don't know. I don't care.
It is interesting to me. I'm not saying that people are well, no, I am saying people are complaining, but I'm saying other people are having this opinion, and you're like, they brought it on themselves. It's very interesting to me.
Not that they brought it on themselves. My thing was, what were you expecting from the estate that does nothing but protect?
I understand your point about the estate, but I also understand the point of like watching the trailers. Like there was a lot of hype around the fact that a new Jackson movie was coming out. The trailers, the sneak peeks, the promo around it did make it seem like you were going to get something brand new.
But that's what that's what kind of every movie kind of does. That dude does like a documentary. Is this a documentary or biopic?
Biopic.
That's what every biopic kind of does. Biopic does. They try to entice you with you're gonna learn something.
But what I'm saying is, I don't begrudge these people into thinking what they thought. They're like, they're excited. And then to a degree, some people are saying that you do get some information. Like, spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen the Michael Jackson movie
No,
yet.
we don't need spoilers, but I get what you're saying.
It's not a big spoiler. They find out that when he did, is it Off the Wall? Whatever that first album was.
Off the Wall.
He was actually still living at home. A lot of people were under the assumption that he was like on his own. Like he had moved away and was whatever.
If you watch The American Dream, they show him still living at home and he was doing Thriller.
People weren't paying it. Well, one, how long ago was The American Dream? And two, I don't think, apparently they go a little more into detail about his home life while trying to do this solo album. So that is something that's kind of new.
We know they were coming and bothering him to come back to the group to do another tour.
We know that, but apparently they show like just how close everything was for him. Like his actual struggle to go solo while still living at home with his brothers, with his dad, everything.
People need to go back and watch The American Dream. They kind of touched on that. Might not to the extent that you saying the movie did, but they touched on it.
Well, for a casual fan, I can understand them not memorizing every detail of The American Dream. But for a super fan, maybe they do recognize that.
Okay. I don't know how many new fans Michael Jackson has. Man.
Apparently quite a few. That's quite a few.
Thing. I don't. Do you think we ever get a Prince biopic?
Didn't we have one?
What, Purple Rain?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
I also don't know that his estate would ever allow it. Because Prince was very controlling. He was very protective of his brand. I don't know that he'd allow it.
Bathe yourself in the lakes of Minnetonka.
They'd have to talk about there's a lot of chewy. Just like with a lot of celebrities, there's a lot of dark stuff also. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know. Plus, there's been a couple of like This Happened type style documentaries where, do you remember his marriage to, what is her name?
Apollonia?
No, he dated or married this like young Asian woman. She was a belly dancer.
No.
Apparently, he had known her since she was like 12. Her family was really close with him. And there's allegations of grooming and him marrying her when she was like 16.
Why is this shocking to people that these
no one's saying it's shocking.
Famous people are creeps?
No one's saying it's shocking. I'm just saying apparently there's more than one story with that type of incident. So
to be a genius, there's some form of offness to that person.
We can get to a bigger discussion about the genius part, but I'm wondering if it's genius or just fault of man. Like, because the accessibility is so much grander when they are at that celebrity stage. Like I said, her family was on board with it. Like they were super close with him. So it makes me wonder, like, is it necessarily that they are seeking out to cause harm, or is it that they find themselves in a position where everybody's like, no, it's fine.
They see themselves as being weird. So they think some things are okay because who they are.
But I mean, there's other people that co-sign that though.
Because they want to be close to the power and the money.
There's tons of regulars who are also weird, but they don't have the accessibility.
The difference is we call them weird.
I feel like, again, the difference is they have accessibility. They have the ability to be anonymous and do this for a little bit until it gets caught up. But they also have the means, and regular don't.
The means is correct.
Okay, Calvin. Anywho.
The means. They can keep everything quiet because they have the money to shut people up. And the power to.
But also, they find themselves in situations where people are like, you don't have to shut us up. We're giving this to you. Yeah. R. Kelly. Yeah. A lot of those girls were gifts.
Yeah.
So
I'm not disagreeing with that.
In other news, Kim on stage is facing some backlash from the church. Have you heard about this? Apparently,
he said he does everything with love.
He was on Cam Newton's show.
Yeah.
Cam Newton asked him how he felt about the LGBTQIA community in church. And Kim on stage gave honestly, a very poignant story of how, he's a churchy kid. He was a youth pastor. His brother was somebody that kind of wandered away from the church for a long time. by all intents and purposes of the way that he grew up in church, he was like ostracized and, seen as very sinful. But when he made his decision to come back to the church, he was welcomed with open arms. Everybody was loving and embracing him, and it encouraged him to stay with the church. And then he recalls situations where there was a young lady he was helping. She presented masculine, and they just didn't want anything to do
They
with
pretty
her.
much shunned her out the church.
Yeah, and they would say that she's of the devil and blah, 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 blah. And then same thing with a gentleman who a lot of people perceive to be gay. Same situation. And they weren't welcomed in the same way just because of their identity. So he was like, for me, he just felt it was hypocritical, and he feels like you should welcome everybody, lead with love. And a lot of the church was like, "You are wrong. How dare you spout the devil?" Like it caused a huge commotion.
Well, a lot of those people ain't going to heaven anyway, so why does it matter?
I don't think it helped that he followed up with like a joke of his talking about how church kids hunch.
That's the only way he knows how to handle it and deal with it.
Honestly, I don't even know that he was necessarily handling or just making a comment. So because he was commenting on like,
I think that's the way he was trying to handle it.
but it's first of all, it's not the first time he's joked about that. When we watched his stand up
Yeah,
when he came to DC, he was joking about it.
Yeah, I get it.
But he was responding to like a TikTok. He was doing like a little response to a TikTok that was also talking about how like pastor kids are the most blah blah blah.
Yeah, they are
Um,
for the most part.
and he was like, "Yeah, church kids be hunching," and people were like, "This is an abomination." So, and then there was a discussion about how if you're the kid of a church elder, that's not the same as being the kid of a pastor. So you can't call yourself a PK. There's a lot of classisms apparently that happen in church that I'm not aware of. So, but a lot of that was going on.
And that's not a problem.
I don't know. Wait, what's not a problem?
The classism in church, that's not a problem.
I don't understand the argument, honestly. An elder versus the pastor, aren't they both like significant figures in the church? I'm confused.
I guess one is higher than the other. I don't know. I don't care.
I'm just saying, if you're the kid of an elder, aren't you also in church all the time? It's confusing.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But they all sit on the pulpit, so I don't care.
But wasn't your mom an elder?
No.
Okay.
Not even close.
Okay.
My grandmother's sister was the pastor.
Yeah.
Yes.
But your mom wasn't considered an elder?
No. She was an usher. She sang in the choir.
Okay.
That is completely different.
So your grandmother would have been an elder?
No. She's the mother of the church. Completely different.
That's not in the same league as elder status?
No.
Is elder status above mother of the church?
They pretty much are the right and left arms of the pastor. I would say that.
Okay.
That's pretty much what they are.
So your cousin that used to be the pastor, is that the highest you can be?
Yes, she was the pastor.
Okay.
Her husband was the elder.
But why wouldn't he be the father of the church?
I don't know how that crap works. I don't ask questions.
You said that's just how it is.
I don't know.
That's the politics around that confuses me. So I was lost in a lot of that discussion. But
technically, to me, it really doesn't matter. Did you get the word or did you not get the word?
Apparently, it's quite significant. Apparently.
And that's why the church is dying.
Is it dying?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I know people aren't going in person as much, but they're still streaming. You're telling me the numbers for that access as well is not very high?
No, it's maybe 10 or 11 people.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So, but yeah, anyway. So there was a whole discussion and discourse around, is Kev wrong? Is he not wrong? Should he have handled this better?
The people of the church is killing the church.
Do you think it's a situation of like old school versus new school coming through?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not even that. It's church people being holier than thou. But they fail to realize you can't pit me or take me out of heaven. At all.
Hasn't it always been this way?
Yes.
A lot of these attitudes hasn't that been like, I don't want to say cemented, but it's been pretty normalized.
But people have been more emboldened.
Okay. There was a comment about how more people are now doubting Thomases, and I had to look that up. But wasn't doubting Thomas a good thing? No.
I don't know.
There's a whole part in the scripture when we're talking about the people that made up
All the
Jesus's
dude did was
disciples.
he doubted Jesus. That's all he
Yes.
did. He denied Jesus 3 times. I don't know. I'm probably getting the story wrong. People are like, you're not a church person. I don't care.
But the takeaway was like him having the questions wasn't necessarily wrong. It was him like refusing to learn from the questions he was asking. So a lot of this was very interesting to me. It was very, very interesting to see the discussion. And for seeing people go after Kev on stage who, for all intents and purposes, really upholds a lot of the Christian belief. So it's very interesting.
I don't care because at the end of the day, you can't put me in heaven, nor can you take me out or stop me from going there. So your opinion is kind of a sin too.
Speaking of sins in church,
There's also judge not, yes, ye be judged. So there's that. So
I think we all conveniently forget that at some point.
So at the end of the day, whatever.
Speaking of,
Jesus loved everybody, so I don't understand the problem.
Apparently, there's rules to that. So anyway.
Yeah, rules that man made.
So, speaking of church and sinners and whatevers, Tina Campbell, what did you think about her divorce?
Okay.
Have you followed up on any other story that's been happening with that?
No. Her husband cheated. She tried. Didn't work. She left.
So,
okay.
When they had this sister, or not the sister, when they had the show.
Yeah.
Was it called Mary Mary?
Yeah.
Their group is called Mary Mary. Was the show called Mary Mary?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. He was cheating on her then.
Yeah.
And it was in the show.
Yeah.
But she was like, nah, he's been saved, and then apparently he's just been doing it this whole time. But she finally hit the point where she was like, enough is enough.
No. She got tired of getting embarrassed. Her face spit in every time.
I mean,
she should have left the first time.
A lot of people have gripes about how long it took for her to react. On the other hand, for me, I'm happy that she just did react. There's tons of women who never do, and they just stick it out. But she finally made a decision for herself. Good for her, I feel. But it is interesting. Again, it's interesting seeing a lot of people kind of throw it in her face that she said this and she said this, and now it's this way.
I don't know why. The people, everybody wants to be put in their 2 cents because they think somehow they can go viral, be famous. Everybody's trying to make a name for themselves.
My other thing is like, we watched, a lot of us watched that reality show. We know Tina Campbell is dealing with a lot of stuff. Like, personally, maybe mental health wise. She's dealing with a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And they didn't really come from, let me not say that. They had their own upbringing that had its own obstacles and issues that they all had to deal with as well, which I think is another big factor. So, what you cling to and what that means and what to do, I feel like it's up to that individual to figure out what that's going to do.
Whatever. A lot of times you're a reflection of your surroundings.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I feel like with all the growing public awareness of psychology, I would hope we have more empathy. Which brings me to my next thing.
Why would you have empathy in this climate?
Which brings me to my next thing. It's coming out that Gen Z doesn't really have empathy. Doesn't really have empathy. They have empathy on a social scale. So like social movements and stuff, they have empathy for. But the individual person, that's fading. Which to me explains a lot of how they move when they talk to people. It used to be people were mad reckless online and not to your face. But with Gen Z and now Gen Alpha, they're being just as reckless in your face. Like the same, I don't want to say the same shame, but like the same weight of what you're saying to another person. They don't have that same weight to it as like older generations.
Whatever. And that's why a lot of them getting beat up in public.
It is very interesting. There's a lot of discussion around how online activities, forums, and the like is like contributing to this because that's the form of communication that they're dealing with the most. And then when it comes to being in person, they're just kind of keeping the same mindset. Regardless, they're like everybody's expendable. That's the loneliness epidemic. So to me, that was quite interesting to learn all of that and see how that happened and break through. So all that being said, that's it for That Happened with Joe.
That happened with Joe. Moving on to Worth the Watch.
Did you pull it up?
Nope.
Colin.
You watch Netflix documentary on Hulk Hogan.
Right. What's it called?
Being Hulk? I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. Just watched it.
It's called Hulk Hogan Real American.
Of course it'd be.
I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a 4-episode doc on Hulk Hogan. It was a doc they were working on before he passed. They have, surprisingly, a lot of footage. It was basically almost done when unfortunately he passed before they did their final editing. So they used what they had. They added some clips. They have a lot of interviews with other people. And you get the story of Terry Bollea, a.k.a. Hulk Hogan.
Babalega.
No.
But
first 2 episodes are about how he came up as a kid, how he gets into wrestling, and how he eventually becomes Hulk Hogan. So I feel like that his doc is what people were expecting the Michael Jackson movie to be. Because I learned a lot of new information watching it.
why would you think the Michael Jackson movie would be just like that?
A lot of people were because unfortunately, for a lot of biopics, that is what you get. You get a lot of information you never got before.
So who was mainly the one to interview for this Michael Jackson doc? Was it Jermaine?
I don't know.
Jermaine and him were like best friends. They were the closest.
It's a biopic, so it's not like they have sit down interviews. You're literally watching reenactments.
I get that. But if Jermaine was one of the main people giving whatever or helping out with the movie, they were best friends. Jermaine's not gonna let them do or say anything crazy.
You know Jermaine's not here anymore, right?
What do you mean Jermaine's not here?
Jermaine passed.
When did Jermaine pass?
A while ago.
No, Jermaine's alive, Javon. You're thinking Tito passed.
Uh-huh.
Tito passed. Jermaine's here. Jermaine was doing things on the damn for the movie.
He was doing damn things for the movie?
Yeah, he was doing stuff for the movie. Going whatever. He was at the open whatever they call that crap.
You're right, he's alive.
Yeah, I know.
Tito's
he's alive.
passed.
Yeah, I know.
That's why everybody was making fun of the drawn in sideburns.
Yeah. Because he didn't want the hair.
I remember thinking it was so disrespectful because I thought he was gone.
That was he wanted had his hair painted on.
Okay, not painted on, but okay.
Like Gumby or something like that. But anywho, we were supposed to be talking about the Hulk.
You took it all the way out. So anyway.
Yeah, it's always my fault. But yeah, what I learned about his early beginnings is that they made it seem like him and his dad didn't like none of his kids. Seems like.
Okay.
His older brother and his
disagree,
dad.
But okay.
His older brother and his dad really didn't get along because he left early, from what he's saying, and then Hulk wanted to do, be a rock and roll star or whatever.
Which what?
Him and his dad had a falling out, and he got kicked out the house. So
well, he also dropped out of school. Like there was a lot of stuff that he was doing.
But the fun fact about Hulk, he is an amazing bass guitar player.
Okay, we'll break it to all of that. So the first 2 episodes is where he was born, his upbringing, his parents, that joint. Second episode is how he's moving into becoming a wrestler. Third episode is him being a wrestler. We're watching the rise, fall, and then rise again in his career. Fourth episode is what's happened to him as the person Terry Bollea past Hulk Hogan.
Post wrestling career.
No, because he's still wrestling.
Post semi retired.
That's when he joins TNA. That's when we see all that and the back surgeries. So let me know what your pros, your cons, and overall thoughts were.
I don't have any pros.
You don't have any
cons?
You just said he was an amazing bass player. That's not a pro?
Okay. Sure, I guess. He's the reason wrestling became mainstream. He's the foundation to
I don't think he
superstar.
was the foundation. I think there was already a foundation. I think he built on that foundation.
He was the one that took it to another level.
I think he added the second level of their house.
Took it to another level.
Yeah, he added their second level.
He made it an icon.
If we're looking at an architecture analogy, like you said, with the foundation, you had the foundation, which is like all those wrestlers that inspired those early 80s wrestlers. So people from the 50s and 60s that were wrestling. Then you've got the people that built the first level of that house after that into the 70s and 80s. With Hulk could be a part of that, but he also built that second floor.
He made it international. He took it international.
It was already international.
He blew up wrestling.
He mainstreamed it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. He mainstreamed wrestling.
Is that a pro?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Khan, he was an asshole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, the pros and cons of this and my overall thoughts. My overall thoughts was he was quite the complicated individual. I mean, I only knew what the bits and pieces that I had heard around him. I remember devoutly following the Gawker incident of that tape going wild and then finding out his real thoughts on what he thought about Black people in general, which was not complimentary, and him dealing with all of that. I remember a lot of that, but I didn't realize this was a very lost man who was honestly just looking to to be loved and adored by a crowd, by the woman by his side. And I think it took him a long time to figure out how to have peace in that. Thankfully he found it, but it took him a long, long time to get there. Um to me, I felt like this doc really humanized Hulk Hogan for me. It's not just that he's his alter ego and fully narcissistic and just like it's all about me. He's also somebody who second guesses a lot and feels like he's not worthy of certain things. And rather than, I don't want to say he victimized himself, but he tends to go deep on the other end to make somebody else feel better or make sure that somebody else feels like they have validation. Is he short-sighted in a lot of stuff he does? Yeah. Yes. But is he also incredible in what a lot of stuff he does? Yes.
Narcissism. Is it really narcissism? I guess. But he made that business.
The narcissism I'm talking about is his entitlement to stuff that's outside of that business. Like him being really surprised that his wife, his first wife, was unhappy. He's like, I don't understand what else she wanted. I'm breaking my back. I'm making this money. All she had to do is take care of the kids. She always just took care of the kids. I don't understand why she was so unhappy. And it's like you really didn't see her for her own person at that point. She was somebody you cared about and somebody you loved, but she was also supposed to be somebody who took your mind off of your troubles, but she's her own person also. And that and the fact that she got married to him as young as she did. She met him when she was very young. He was youngish. Their age gap is not that far. It's like maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe. And for her to spend 27 of her years of her life with this man and everything that he did, I guess the other thing that really surprised me was that the cheating scandal. They really dramatized the cheating scandal for her. She's like she found one of the maids found an earring in the bed. So now she's got questions about it, and then it comes out that there might be photos or whatever around him dating one of Brooke's friends. He says it's a chaperone. That woman was one of Brooke's friends. And like it's starting to fall from there. But I distinctly remember watching like other documentaries and other like think pieces and interviews with that lady again, where the understanding was like if he's on the road, he does what he does. It's on the road. He just can't bring it home. And to me, that it really stood out to me that her finding that earring in their bed was what finally crossed the line for her. He brought it home. Mind you, this happens after he's no longer with WWE. It was very To me, it was very, very interesting. And if you ever watched that Gawker video, the leaked sex tape, the heart to hearts he has with his friend's wife, it is miserable. It is miserable. It's very apparent he's dealing with a lot of sad emotions when it comes to losing Linda. And to me, it was just very, very interesting because Hulk Hogan, the character, it's very easy to paint him as just like he's only about himself. But Terry Bollea really cares about what other people think about him.
Sounds like to me is a dude trying to find himself and didn't know how to be a person without wrestling. That's what it sounds like to me. He's just like every other athlete when they leave their sport, especially if they're one of the greats or at the pinnacle or whatever. They just don't know how to go home and be normal.
I couldn't, even though he has said and doubled down on several things I do not agree with, and he is a racist. I couldn't help but also feel bad about the fact that like his childhood was just not happy at all. Like he loves his parents, but you got to think of the time period that all this is happening. He was born in 1953. His older brother is like maybe 3 years older than him, so that's 50. Their dad was like a World War II veteran. They're not known for being the most emotionally intelligent group. He said the first time that man said, I'm proud of you and I love you, was after that wrestling match they went to. And he was grown. He had to sneak into his own home because they had kicked him out because he had dropped out of high school and didn't want to go to college. Like, that's a lot.
No, that's what happens when you get kicked out. Your ass ain't supposed to be there.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Whatever, that's what he wanted.
But I also think in that, him saying that he wants to be the exact opposite with his kids and he wants to be so involved in their lives, I felt like he had approached that in a way that would have made young Terry Bollea feel better and not necessarily in a way that would have really been helpful for his children. Like, unfortunately, at the time of this man's death, him and Brooke were barely speaking. So.
And she's not in this documentary at all.
Right.
Except during clips. She does not do a sit down or anything.
Now, she's on TikTok and has talked about this doc and was just like, yeah, I didn't want to be a part of it. You know, she had some conversations with her dad when he was in and out of the hospitals. Apparently, he was in and out of hospitals for a minute before his passing.
Because his body was destroyed.
Yes. So he was getting a lot of surgeries done. And then there were a lot of ramifications from getting all those surgeries done. So
his back was a question mark, literally.
Yeah.
An upside down question mark.
But he was getting neck surgery. That's when he passed on that table. They were doing neck surgery. So, but yeah. So she's like, I've made my peace with it. She got her own kids. But I mean, it was and I found it interesting. They didn't touch on any of Nick's stuff. When they talked about Hogan Knows Best, which is the reality show that all the family was on, part of the reason that show did not get renewed, outside of them also being done with being on that show, it was what happened with Nick. Nick had a huge DUI case that happened where one of his friends ended up permanently immobilized. So, like, to this day. So, to me, that was interesting. I felt like this documentary was pretty fair in showcasing the highs and how high they were for him and his lows and how low those got for him. And it was a little bittersweet to watch how this man, who was the first in terms of merchandising and doing other shows and doing movies and like really broadening the brand of what it means to be a professional wrestler, get booed in like one of his final WWE appearances because of political beliefs. Well, probably because of some other stuff too. There was a lot of stuff that was going around at that time, but that it was a little bittersweet to see that happen. And
sure.
I'm not gonna lie. As a pro, for me, I was a Hulkamaniac as a little kid. I loved Hulk as a little kid, watching him. He really played that part of being like very open minded and very like arms wide open for kids. He played that really well. And just watching him engage with fans. Like even in older years, there's a scene where like he stops to do like signings, and he's dealing with a lot of people that are on the spectrum or what have you, and he's treating each and every one of them individually and talking to them all and engaging with all of them. And he really, really had a magnetic charm about him when he was in that ring, when he's engaging with his fans. However you feel about the technicalities about his wrestling, he was phenomenal at making people feel seen and heard and appreciated as his character. So yeah, a lot of conflating emotions for me because he also was a terrible human being sometimes. So
wasn't that deep for me.
and nothing's ever that deep for you.
It is what it is. Who cares? Anywho, I liked how his peers gave him the praise.
They were all
And
so shook with his passing.
how much respect they had for him
Yeah.
because they were like, he was the one. He was the golden goose.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the guy.
And he was. He was the guy.
And how much it hurt them when he passed.
Yeah.
And how he wrestled way too long.
It also made me see the
Also-
downsides of being the first.
Also showed me how greedy Vince McMahon was.
That showed you it, not the Vince doc?
I didn't care about the Vince doc.
Oh my goodness. I would have thought that would have really shown you how greedy that man was.
Oh, I knew he was greedy. But to see how he used Hulk Hogan, but it's kind of Hulk's fault too.
What?
It's kind of Hulk's fault too.
What are you even talking about right now?
They're coming back. Hey, I need you to do this. Him knowing he was using him just to get ratings and to sell tickets.
Okay.
But
then
went,
he goes on to have like one of the best WrestleManias.
But then he does
ever.
it anyway. And knowing he's not supposed to because his body won't let him. But he's just shooting himself up full of drugs.
No, that was at
just to do
TNA.
it.
At that point when he was doing all the drugs, that was TNA.
But what I'm saying is his body was shot then. It just made it worse. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And Vince kept firing him just to bring him back when he needed him.
But when he would bring him back, it wasn't necessarily to do matches. Hulk was the one to push matches.
If you don't think Vince persuaded him to do it, then okay.
If I'm Vince and I know that I can make money with just him appearing, why would I push for you to do a match? Also, I know what's going to happen after you do the match. Like when Hunter shows up and he talks about how like, yeah, and a nostalgia bump will carry you for the evening, but it's not going to carry you long term.
But it doesn't matter. He kept doing it anyway.
But Hulk also admitted that he chose to do that because he didn't want to stop.
I get that. And he used that too.
Okay.
Vince knew.
Okay.
I don't think you sure, whatever. Anywho, yeah, that's my opinion.
Like I was saying,
Illegal,
I
whatever.
also found it interesting to see the lows of being the first. Like as much credit as they gave him for having this like grandiose sight of what could and could not be being a wrestler, he also was kind of limited in sight for himself being the very first to do this. And like in hindsight, he's like, well, I should have did movies more. I should have did TV more. I should have stopped wrestling in the 90s. But when you're the first doing all of this and breaking the mold in a lot of these places, I could absolutely see how you wouldn't be able to see the forest for the trees at that point. Especially in terms of how his career ebbed and flowed. I didn't realize that he was at a lull. And then he started doing NWO, and that shot him right back up. I didn't know that.
No, what happened was he was pretty much done. He was just like The Rock. He was doing movies and all that stuff, so he wasn't really around.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was...
Well, he also got fired. That's why he was doing the movies.
Time started changing.
Yeah.
So, when they brought him back, they tried to use the same old cliches that worked in the 80s, in the 80s, and it wasn't working. So, and two, they didn't want to pay him anyway neither, so that's how he ended up in WCW. That's how all of them ended up in WCW
Uh-huh.
because Vince didn't want to pay them.
Yeah, but Ted would.
Yeah, but then they started getting too hacky.
They also were overspending. They were hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, but they also got too hacky. I think they could have. They had the characters to put on great matches.
Was it in Vince's doc? Or was it a separate? It talked about the rise and fall of WCW.
Yeah. They
did get hacky, but they also talked about how like they overspent.
I get that. But I think if you put on good matches, you can keep the people and then you can still selling out more places.
They didn't have a problem keeping the people. Even with as hacky as it got, people were still going.
They did. Because at some point, everybody was like, okay, this motherfucker is trying to put out flashbangs in people's faces.
I don't know that hacky would be the word. I think at some point they were like, this is mad disrespectful. Like, it's getting crazy.
Okay, maybe that.
It's
maybe
getting
that.
crazy.
Maybe that. And then it started talking crazy to the fans and crazy to the wrestlers.
And they were like, we don't need this.
It was like, it was out of control.
When they hired that writer who, for all intents and purposes, did like breathe new life into WCW for a second.
For like 2 seconds.
For a second. But then he got real crazy with it. And then he felt really entitled to things. And it just got crazy.
He wanted to be the show. That's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
So he goes to WCW and becomes a heel. And his career gets a second life, new life, as they would say.
A third life. He gets a third life.
What's a third life?
So remember he struggled to be a wrestler initially.
First of all, he didn't want to be a wrestler. He thought they were scary.
Yeah, he thought you only had to be a heel. He didn't know that you could. There's a baby face and other stuff. He thought you just had to be the bad guy. But he starts his career as a heel. But he also can't really wrestle. So it's him learning a lot. It's a lot of learning steps for this man, so that he can get into what he wants to get. But he sort of hits it big as he doesn't call himself Hulk Hogan. I think he's like Terry the Hulk or something like that, or the Hulk Ballet or something like that. At that point,
Terry the Hulk,
the Boulder, Hulk the Boulder, or something of that nature. So he hits it big there. So that's his first kind of like pipe up.
He makes a name for himself.
Yeah, doing that. Then he becomes Hulk Hogan when he signs on with Vince Sr.
Vince Sr. pretty much changed his name to Hulk Hogan.
Yes, he changes it then. And then he picks up even more steam. So that's like a second wind for him. Him and Vince Sr., he starts getting to new heights. And then when Vince Jr. then he gets fired by Vince Sr.
Vince Sr. fires him because he goes and does the Rocky movie.
Yes. And he didn't want him to do a Rocky movie. So then he starts doing the Independents again. And there's I didn't realize how much of a space there was in between him filming and that movie coming out before Vince McMahon Jr. reaches out to him.
I didn't realize how early that movie was.
Yeah. It's not an 80s movie, it's a 70s movie.
I didn't realize that. And that's Rocky, what, 2?
He was in Rocky 3, which is an 80s movie. But Rocky 1 came out in the 70s.
Okay.
He was in Rocky 2 in like 82, 83. Or I'm sorry, Rocky 3, 82, 83. But then Vince McMahon Jr. signs him up, and they take a gamble with WrestleMania. Hulk has this idea to include Mr. T, and it'd be a way to like expand. And at first, they're shooting the idea down, and then they agree to it.
Basically, they started using pop stars and TV celebrities to pretty much sell WrestleMania, and it worked.
And it was the first time a wrestling company had done that. Period. So, but they didn't know it was going to work, but it works well. And that really shoots him up. It really shoots him up. And so he does that for a little bit, and then he wants to start doing more movies, and he gets fired. Vince Jr. fires him. And he does his movie. He does Thunder in Paradise, which I think we should review at some point. I'll make you watch it. And then when he wants to get back into wrestling, he's getting tired of being on the set and doing all of that. And he ends up talking to Vince Jr. again. And he comes back, but he comes back and he's not heralded at all. Because it's been a minute since he's been back to WWE. And he's doing all his old gimmicks, like you said. But time has passed and it's not working. And he kind of struggles with that. And then he's not getting paid. He goes to WCW, turns everything on its head. So There you go. It was like 3. And then if you want to count a 4th one after he has a scandal and they tried to essentially exile him from everything, he comes back again. It makes it work. Did you believe him when he said, when he got booed at the last WrestleMania he goes to, that it didn't affect him?
No,
Okay.
because he's not trying to wrestle again.
I mean, if he was trying to sell, he did a good job selling of like, no, I loved it. Because now I could come back as a heel. That's heat. Da, 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 da. He sold it well.
Like, no one wants to see your old ass with no back out there.
That man has no back.
You and
They showed that X-ray and it was an S. I said, oh no.
You and Ric Flair need to go sit down somewhere. There'll be times where I'm like, Ric Flair about to have a heart attack if he don't sit down.
How is Ric Flair walking around without assistance at this point? How?
Because he's styling profiling.
This man, that's another dog we should probably review again, because the fact that he did all that drugs and all of that drinking and he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
He actually didn't really take falls like
the way Hulk did.
Yeah. He wasn't just jumping up and just, first of all, I don't know. I guess because of how much he weighs, that's a lot of.
It is. It's a lot of weight to compress against your back every night.
So he didn't do none of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, maybe the way he was falling might hurt.
I'm just saying, he used to cut himself a lot.
Maybe that. But other than that, that's pretty much all.
Woo.
He was pretty much a ground fighter.
Okay.
For the most part.
It was bittersweet for me. And then the end, seeing how Terry Bollea wanted to move as his own person. He's siding up with Trump. Trump's in the documentary. Spoiler. Talks about his close friendship with that. How Trump inspires him to go ahead and start talking about politics. He never really talked about politics before then, but now he felt emboldened to. And how that worked out for him, it did not work out for him. So there's that. And then unfortunately that man passes.
Also, apparently he found Jesus in a woman. I'm sorry. He found a woman and then found Jesus.
Did you think he was being facetious about going back into church? I didn't think he was.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what to think because I don't know.
To me, it felt like that. To me, that made sense to me. He's back in Florida. He's in Clearwater. He's going to a conservative church. All of a sudden, Trump looks like a really good person. That made sense to me. That was, the boxes are being checked. That made sense to me. That he was like, yes.
Whatever.
But also, I think it helped him to have peace. I think him going back into church, as flawed as whatever that was for him, it gave him a sense of peace. And I think that was a big thing. What did you think about him speaking so kindly about Linda? I was surprised.
Who the hell's Linda?
His first wife.
Why would he talk ill of her?
I thought again, if you watch the reality show, it was really ugly. Their breakup and their divorce, it got really petty, got really ugly.
Because at the time, they hated each other, probably.
Right.
But once you're removed from that, you're like...
You have some time behind it.
What it is.
They both were speaking very lovingly about each other in their early days. I was like, wow, okay.
I'm not shocked by that.
He was quite the romantic. I said, wow, okay. Interesting. So.
It's easy to be romantic when you got money.
No, when he didn't have money. Like the notes he was writing her and stuff while he was driving everywhere and whatever.
Sure.
To me, I think that's what he missed. He missed her doting on him like that. And then when he retired or stopped wrestling or whatever and was home all the time, he missed like having that attention. And on top of him trying to figure out how to move as a regular civilian after being Hulk for so long. I also do think that there's something to be said about him losing himself in his persona.
It's par for the course.
I agree. I do think it's par for the course.
It's easy when you're the
archetype. Yes.
The archetype.
Yes. He absolutely was the archetype.
So it's easy to lose yourself.
I could absolutely see that.
I didn't realize how many times he came back.
Yeah.
That means I was really checked out of wrestling. I didn't know.
They touched on Calvin's favorite, The Ultimate Warrior, and how that they were trying to make him like the second Hulk, and it didn't work.
Because he was an a-hole. and he couldn't do press. He can't do press well
He didn't
at
do
all.
promos well. He couldn't really do press, and he really wasn't good about engaging with the fans.
That's what I'm saying. He was an asshole. Like, I think that somebody told a story. I want to say it was Ted DiBiase,
Mm-hmm.
or could it be? It could have been Jesse the Body Ventura.
Okay.
One of those guys. I think it was $1 Million Man was saying how they were in the airport,
Mm-hmm.
and a fan came up to him, and he's like, "Get the hell out of here, kid," or something. He said,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Yo, whoa, what are you doing, dude?"
Oh, what's his face said that? Okay.
Yeah, the Ultimate Warrior.
I thought Ted DiBiase said that.
No,
Okay.
the Ultimate Warrior was like, "Get out of here, dude. Whatever." Yeah. And he was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, dude, like you can't do. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Man, it's early in the morning. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right." Like, I don't know if he made amends or did whatever, but he was like,
Was
he wasn't
Ultimate
ready for
Warrior
that.
not a heel? He was
No.
a babyface?
He was a hero.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a babyface. Interesting. I definitely thought he was a heel.
Baby face, but he was a good guy. Yeah. Like I said, what made him great is because he was the Mike Tyson of WWF at the time.
That's a strong statement.
Why?
What made him the Mike Tyson?
He ran to the ring at 1,000 miles per hour. He hit the ropes 3 or 4 times. His entrance was longer than his match.
Why would that make him Mike Tyson?
Because his matches only last 10 seconds. If you blink, his match was over and he was done.
I just recall that man doing a lot of screaming and looking like he was on speed.
He run,
and then he would like touch that top rope and just yank it nonstop.
And that was his whole match. Because when the match went ding, 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 he'll run and shoulder check the person.
I thought he was a heel.
And then he'll pin him, and then the ring and me over, he'll shake
and then he
the ropes.
ran back out.
He shake the ropes, and then he'll run back out. I'm like, I missed it.
How was he not a heel?
I was like,
why did little boys love him so much? It didn't make any sense.
I'd be like, I missed it. I missed it. I went to the bathroom. It's all. Damn it! So anytime you hear the music,
you know what? That boy good. That boy good.
You just sat there. He's like, oh, this is gonna be good. He'll whip his ass real fast. Gone. I'm like, it's over. He was the Mike Tyson of WWF at the time.
That's crazy. That is quite the accomplishment.
He run in, run out, and then they try to pass the mantle on, the torch to him, but everyone knew he wasn't Hulk Hogan.
He definitely didn't have the.
He didn't have the charisma
personage.
or the personage. When they did pass it off to the right person.
Who was the right person? Rock?
No. Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay.
The Hulkster. Hulk Hogan came back and cut that short.
Yeah.
And then that's when everything kind of went blah. And then he went and done movies and then came back WCW, all that, whatever. Whoop-de-whoop. So,
I didn't realize how tall he was. Hulk says he's 6'10".
He's 6'6". He's 6'7".
He's 6'7".
Everybody's 3 inches taller than what they really are.
But that's still very tall. Like, that's still really tall.
I get that, but he's not no 6'2".
I didn't realize he was that tall. I thought he was like 6'1".
I knew he
6'2".
was tall because him and Andre the Giant, there was a height difference, but it wasn't that much about it. It was a height difference. But
I guess I didn't
compared
realize
to everybody
how tall
else
Andre
was standing up to, it was like, okay.
Like, I knew Andre was over 7 foot, but I guess, like, when you're watching it on your TV screen, you don't really, like, put it into real perspective.
You can kind of see the height when you get together.
But we didn't know the details of their heights like that.
Because it was, like, unknown.
Right.
To be mysterious. Wait, unknown. From lands far away.
Which just makes me laugh even harder because the whole existence of Thunder in Paradise is that he's supposed to be a stealth soldier. He's 6'7". So anyway. But it cracked me up. That and him being a bass player for a band, so he played in the back. He's taller than every one of his bandmates.
Also, it was sad when to see Jimmy Hart take it so much. His manager.
Yeah.
So.
Because he was so close. It was also sad seeing Hulk talk about his older brother.
So, in the doc, he eventually one day his brother just shows up.
And apparently looks exactly like him. and it kind of freaks Linda out. And he finds out that's his brother. His brother also got kicked out of the house.
His brother has been fighting drug demons and all that stuff.
Had joined a biker gang.
He's pretty much part of Hell's Angels.
Yeah.
Apparently. And he left the East Coast and came to the West Coast. And then he came down to see Hulk. He told Hulk he got a rehab. Hulk's like, stay right there, come with me, and whatever. He's like, no, I just need rent. So Hulk gives him money for rent. Hulk's like, I'll hook up with you when I get done with. I guess he had a gig.
Yeah, he had a match.
He's
like, after the match is done, let's go to dinner.
He ends up getting a call, and it's his brother. He pretty much died of overdose, and Hulk took it real bad. He's like, he just got back in my life.
He's like, I should have made him come with me.
I should have made him come with me. He kind of, I guess, takes responsibility for his brother's death a little bit.
He does. Not a little bit. I think he takes a lot of responsibility for it.
So, yeah, it was a good watch.
It was. I mean, if you're interested in wrestling, if you're curious about Hulk Hogan, granted, the way people feel about Hulk Hogan now, he's a very controversial figure, but I think it's worth it. It was very interesting to me.
Like she said, I didn't realize they got really in depth into Hulk, the man, and Terry, the guy, and how those two people collided all the time.
It kind of merged in certain places.
And how Hulk took over. But when he got home, he was Terry.
He was briefly home.
But he didn't know how to be fully Terry.
I think he felt vulnerable being Terry. Being Hulk gave him some protection.
And he wanted to be Hulk.
And I also thought it was sad when he talks about how, like, even if he wanted to stop being Hulk at home and just be Terry, everybody knows him as Hulk. The mailman would greet him as Hulk.
And Terry doesn't exist anymore.
Right. If he goes to, like, the grocery store, it's Hulk. It's not Terry. Which, I mean, is true. That's how he's known.
This goddamn Terry.
For real. You got a brother. No, so, like, yeah. There was a part in there where they talk about how he's, like, one of the most recognized figures in the world. And you scoffed.
Yeah, I did.
But it's real. That's real.
And I scoff again.
I think that's real. He is one of the most recognizable.
If you don't have a TV, you don't know who the hell he is.
You'd have to have not had a TV for decades.
There are people that has never had a TV.
But even if you don't have a TV, if you ever went to a movie, you would have known who he was.
Everybody don't know him.
Calvin.
Stop this lie.
I like how on one hand you're going to talk about how he was the mold. And then on the other hand, be like, not really, though.
He was the mold, but that mold could have stopped at England.
Like you just said, he was international. Like,
in Europe.
Calvin.
Who knows?
That doesn't make any sense. But I thought it was a good watch for me.
Good watch.
Okay. You want to talk about something else?
Quickly over 90 day. Before the 90 days. Rick and Trisha. Rick is crying. Trisha dumbass shows up at the airport for some strange reason. Who knows why? Because she likes pain. She likes to cry.
This is not quick.
She gets there. She hands him a present that she had for him.
Why are you giving this step by step? She goes to the airport. She wants to say goodbye to Rick. Rick is in tears. Tears. He still talks about how he can't let go of his ex. And then he pleads with her to, like, give him a chance. He's like, eventually I'll get over it. And she goes, I can't promise you that I'll get back with you, but we can keep talking, which is done.
Same thing I just said.
That is not what you said.
Moving on to
Aviva.
And Stig. No one knows what really happened.
Yes, we do.
Apparently, Stig called off the engagement. The end.
And the relationship.
The end.
And then the previews for the tell-all is him being like, she was talking to other men.
Apparently,
which is wild.
She said
because he fully flirts with other women in front of her face.
It's pretty much she said he said. So whatever. She's crying the whole time. It's over. Lisa, Daniel. Lisa's trying to accuse Daniel of cheating again. So we don't know. Apparently her daughter finds some stuff on the internet, supposedly.
We know.
Of the same lady, I guess. So who knows? What?
We know.
We know what?
He was cheating.
Says who?
Daniel.
When did Daniel say he was cheating?
The tell-all.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
Elise, Joshua, they break up at the airport.
Do they break up?
Yes.
Like for reals?
Yes.
Okay.
He's like, we're going our separate ways. She go her separate ways. He's like, I don't have time for her to keep doubting this relationship or putting doubt.
So he broke up with her, or Elise broke up with him?
I think it was a mutual split.
Oh, okay.
I think he was tired. She was tired.
Okay.
I don't even know if she was tired. I think he was tired.
Okay.
And she was like, well, what's to leave us? He's like, we're not good together, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he was like, he loved her. He wanted to make it work, but she just kept. Seems like to me, they both were just not. They were not right good for each other, period. There were two people who were. One doesn't know what she wants. The other one, he's not ready for anything.
I would say one cannot trust at all, and therefore second guesses everything. And the other one can't really deal with making like adult decisions. He wants to like go with the flow, but he's reaching a point where that's not working long term.
And the other one doesn't know what he wants to do.
I think he knows what he wants to do. I don't think he
doesn't know what
I don't
he
think
wants
he
to
understands the impact that has on other people.
do. He doesn't know what he wants to do.
I think his job is solid, but I don't think he likes being tied down. Technically, the job he has, he could get his own place.
Sure. Forrest and Sheena. Forrest goes home. The end.
Yeah.
His mom wins. Sheena cries.
And the mom cries with her. Which why?
I don't know why. At some point, Sheena should have chopped in her throat.
For real. Get off me.
But doesn't happen. No Emma, no Zaid. That's been done since episode 10, and there's 20 more episodes was left in the show. So they were done a long time ago. Burkhan and Laura. Pretty much Burkhan, mental, gymnastics, Laura, and now they're engaged.
Mental gymnastics, her.
Yeah.
Was it mental gymnastics?
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
Whatever. He got his hands on her novel, read the person he was supposed to be, and that's what he pretty much did.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to me. What happened?
I don't know.
Pretty much, he told her, you and Michael can still be friends, but you can't be the type of friends you were.
Which is reasonable to me.
Very much so. And
that's very reasonable. But him proposing with a string, hilarious. Hilarious. I hate to admit it, but you were right. He has game. He has game. Because he was like, look at this red string. Be my wife. She was like, oh my gosh. Yes. There's something like, what? What is happening, girl? We don't need rings. Excuse me? Okay, yep.
So, and that's the end of that. Javon, Annalyn. Yeah. Annalyn probably is possibly pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And Javon goes home.
He's also worried about money.
Javon goes home. And that's 90 days, before the 90 days. The tell-all will be next week, and it's going to be good.
I feel like it's going to be good and terrible.
Yes, just like all other tell-alls. Good and terrible.
Don't make me fight people about Sheena, please. Please.
That's what's going to happen. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. We also watched Jerry Springer. We were supposed to talk about that first.
Sure.
But anyway, we watched it's called Hollywood Demons, which wow. And the first episode of the second season is all about Jerry Springer and the inner workings of like how that show got made, what production actually did, what the producers actually did to make sure the show could get made, and what the actual point of that show was. And the point of that show was not necessarily to tell other people's stories as much as it was to get numbers and get people to watch. It was just to get
ratings and fights. That's all it was for. Once they saw that fighting made ratings, they just made sure they got people to fight.
It is interesting that this is the second doc I've watched around those talk shows. And the producers are basically in the same mind space of like, whatever it takes to get a rating, whatever we got to do. What's her face? Is it Jenny Jones?
Yes.
We watched the Jenny Jones one that talked about a murder that happened on her show, but it was also a similar setup where they were flying people into the show just to have the audience kind of berate them. That was the whole point. But with Jerry Springer, they took it to like another level where producers were intentionally setting up scenarios where they would have to fight. Like they'll tell one person one thing, not tell the other person the other thing. They would turn a blind eye to waivers if minorities, meaning like actual minors, were involved in certain things to play up certain things. They tell a very sad story of a young girl who was in a very abusive household situation, and they kind of exploited that to their own benefit
So there were
several times.
2 stories that stood out to me about the Jerry
Springer.
show.
Mm-hmm.
The one what you said you was getting ready to touch on about the little girl who was pretty much the daughter of a KKK.
A wannabe KKK member.
I thought he was a KKK member.
No.
So they got them to come on the show and pretend to be KKK members.
No, they didn't pretend. They pretended they weren't saying they were. I think what was the frame up? They were more exploiting the fact of his racist beliefs. That's really what they were exploiting.
So she didn't really believe that.
She just parroted.
But the thing was that also they might have not got, her parents were divorced.
Yeah.
They might have not got the mom's permission to have her on TV.
Yeah.
May or may not.
They had dual custody. So they were supposed to get permission from both parents. They really just got permission from the dad. And according to the girl, they were paying the dad for every time they were on the episode.
So she got on and she was saying all these crazy things even though she didn't believe it.
They told her to. She was sat down by producers and was told to say all this rhetoric, but as angry as she could.
But the real reason she was doing it because she was trying to save herself because she's in an abusive and sexually assaulted home.
A sexually abusive home, yes.
So
yes.
That's the main reason she went along with it.
She
and
was
then
just
they
trying
brought
to
her
survive.
back like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, with the same storyline.
With the same storyline.
Of her being racist. I think her first stop, she was like 13. Then she comes back and she's 14. She comes back again. She's 16. She comes back again. She's 17. And it's all the same storyline about how like her family's racist and she's racist.
Now she has dreads and she's living in Alabama somewhere.
What got to me about her story was like producers were aware that this guy was not good, and they didn't care. They just wanted her to be on the show.
Me. They knew she was being sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
They knew she was being abused, and they didn't care at all.
And they repeatedly called him back. Repeatedly.
Wasn't there one where it's something about incest?
That was a case that happened outside of the show. So outside of the show,
okay.
Again in Florida, gotta love Florida. A detective was called to the scene. This little girl had reported to her teacher. Mind you, this little girl's like 8 or 9, that her brothers were sexually assaulting her. The detective goes to investigate, and the brothers are very nonchalant, and they're like, yeah. And he's like, do you know that's called incest? And they're like, yeah, we know it's called incest. We'll give her candy, and she'll do stuff for us. And then he was like, where did you learn this? And they're like, oh, yeah, Jerry Springer. And they talk about how, like, there's numerous episodes in the Jerry Springer series of people who are like, I'm pregnant from my brother, or I'm in a relationship with my brother, or whatever, what have you. Their whole point was these kids had kind of normalized this ideology by watching Jerry Springer. And it was to the disbelief of a lot of people. And it made headlines.
We used to watch, I believe, these crazy little hillbillies.
That's sad. But what got me were the producers being like, we didn't tell them to do that. And at the end of every show, it says, we do not support these ideas. And it's like, these are literal little kids. They're not looking at any of that and being like, oh, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Where the hell are the parents?
They work. You were a latchkey kid? They work. She said her mom goes to work at 6:30 a.m., doesn't come home till 6:30 p.m. Which is not, especially back in the day, that was not uncommon.
They don't have no grandparents?
No.
Whatever. I'm pretty sure they're still in the town that the mom grew up in.
I don't know. It's Florida. Put that into perspective, though, too.
Whatever. I guess. Also there was another story of how they had this guy who had this ex-wife and a new wife, I guess.
He had a current wife.
Current wife, and the current wife brought the ex-wife on.
No, the current wife was fighting with his current mistress. Then he said he was getting a divorce from his current wife. The mistress was like, she needs to leave us alone. He doesn't want her anymore.
She was an ex-wife already.
No, they referred to her as the ex-wife, but they were still legally married.
Okay.
That's why he needed her to get back to the States.
Okay. Anywho, yeah. So on the show, she was the ex-wife.
That's why she also was like, we're still trying to reconcile. That's why she had a lawyer.
So on the show, they had her ex the ex-wife.
They referred to her as the ex-wife on the show. Yes.
So he comes on. He pretty much takes the
mistress side.
The mistress side, and
they all berate her.
Berate the ex-wife.
Yes.
Or the ex-wife. She does nothing, and she calmly
she's blindsided. She doesn't know that that's why they're on the show. She was under the impression they were on the show. Her husband at the time told her that the show was going to help him come back to the States because he had been in Germany to renew a visa. So not only was the show going to help him come back to the States to come back to her, they'd get to be on the show, and it would be all about how he's leaving his mistress to go back to her. But that's not what happens on the show.
So she politely excuses herself at some point.
They wanted her to fight this lady,
and she wouldn't do it. She excused herself, left. They went home. The day it was supposed to air.
The day it did air.
The day it did air, I guess her and the husband was going through the house because he came back home, kicked her out. She got a lawyer. The lawyer got the house back for her.
Mm-hmm.
And that day, I guess they got the house back. He went to the bar, started drinking, and the episode aired. I guess he got so angry that he went back to the house and pretty much killed the lady.
We found out he had a history of already physically abusing her. He was already hitting her prior to this. So it didn't take much for him to go back and start throwing hands.
And normally what happens is they do some type of background check. Apparently
no, they don't.
Jerry Springer show said we're not doing background checks.
A lot of reality TV shows don't do background checks. It's easy to do a background check. A lot of stuff is public record, but a lot of reality shows don't do background checks.
So those are two stories that stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. I guess what stood out to me was how everybody simultaneously wants to take credit for how popular that show was, and at the same time wash their hands of it because they realize how horrible they had to be to make the show as popular as it was. That was interesting to me. That they're like, yeah, man, we're the best in the business. And then at the same time, they're like, I felt horrible.
I quit.
It's very, very interesting. That and that one guy, I don't know if he was like an executive producer or something, but who, like, for him, it was just numbers. All these stories with these people, their real lives, he could have cared less. Did they give him the ratings? That's all he cared about.
How they made some of the female showrunners
do stupid things.
To keep
their
some
job.
Of the people who were on the show interested in to get them to do what they wanted them to do.
It's crazy. It's crazy across the board. It was interesting. If you remember Jerry Springer, if you wanted to see some of the background around it, like, I mean, the rumor was they were paying people to be on that show. And it's a rumor that they kind of talk about again in the little doc that they never really like fully confirmed. But I definitely thought he was just looking for people who wanted to be on TV and wanted to fight. But it turns out it was a little more complex than that. They were actually also trying to manipulate these people into doing this stuff.
I knew at some point it's a little bit of both.
But that's the saying they had of bring them in on a limousine and make them leave in a van. That was crazy. That was crazy.
That's par for the course, I guess.
Par for what course? None of these people had a career after being on the show.
TV or being on TV shows like that back in the day.
I do think, though, it set a precedent for reality TV. And that's why a lot of reality TV is watched the way it is. Because they got rid of like the live audience aspect of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And now you can criticize to your heart's content online. You can blow up them Reddit forums, Twitter, wherever.
Like I said, I watched it because we used to rush to get home, right? Because 3 o'clock it came on. So people try to kill themselves to get home. Or yell at the bus driver to drive faster. Who knows? Anywho, but Once Passion started coming on, I was like, I don't care.
You guys never hacked it?
Hacked to what?
Back in the day, the television channels had a radio component. You could listen to it. You wouldn't be able to see a picture, but you could listen to the show. You just had to be on the right radio frequency. It's usually an AM channel.
No.
The more you know. The more you know.
Our parents allowed us to watch whatever we wanted to watch, so we didn't have to listen to it from the AM station.
I'm talking about when you couldn't get to your TV. Like you just said, you were on the bus.
Oh, we just made the bus driver drive faster. We give a shit.
How you make it a grown adult drive faster? How that work?
Man, if you don't drive this bus faster, we can whoop your.
I know your Uncle William was that driver. I don't know why you
No,
were being so mean.
he wasn't. That stopped in like in the 80s or late in the 70s. He was not driving bus.
You never got on a bus with him and driving it?
No.
Oh.
He wasn't even in South Carolina when I started going to school.
I'm just saying, for somebody who just said that you had family around you all the time and you came from a little small town, I find it hard to believe that you guys were openly bullying a bus driver who more than likely also knew your family.
No, because at this time, I was going to a high school that wasn't even in my town. Well, I was going to a brand new high school, and our bus driver was a guy we used to call Carlton Banks. He lived at Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Mm-hmm.
And we was wilding.
Okay. No one had a mini TV?
No. We weren't rich like you guys.
It wasn't expensive to get a mini
Mark
TV.
Caramello.
Mark Carmelo?
Yeah, Mark Carmel, whatever he's from.
Uh-huh.
Mary Mason.
It's not expensive.
We didn't grow up in the valley, in the hills.
The video was black and white.
We didn't grow up in the valley.
I didn't grow up in the valley either.
Yeah, you did.
No.
Okay. Anywho, yeah, no, we didn't. We just had to.
You just said you went to a brand new high school. Somebody had access.
It wasn't
and
a brand
funds.
new high school. We went to a high school that's already there. They pretty much closed my school to a middle and elementary school
Only.
and bust us off to an
existing high school.
Yes.
Gotcha.
To which I found out years later, just because that school was about to close. So to keep that school open, because it was predominantly white, they closed the black school.
Well, you are from South Carolina.
So, yeah.
You say yeah.
It is what it is.
You guys didn't have VCRs? You couldn't videotape it?
Yes.
So you guys recorded it?
No.
Okay.
I'm not wasting videotapes for that.
Again, tapes are cheap. And also, you just needed the one. You could just keep re-recording.
No. We got home right in time for it. We wanted to get home in time for the first punch. We got home in time for the
Whose
first punch.
house did y'all go to?
I went home.
Everybody went to their prospective homes to watch this by themselves?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
I
You
spent
made
enough-
it sound like y'all ganged up on this bus driver, so you go to one person's house to watch this together.
No. We all wanted to get to our own houses.
Interesting.
Yeah. I spent enough time with those people at school. I don't want to see them after school.
Sure. Did you also tell me to knock on your windows? Anyway, whatever.
What the hell are you talking about?
You said they used to rap on your windows to talk to you.
Cousins?
Aren't those the people you also were going to school with? None of your cousins went to school with you? I know they did.
I only went to school with high school one cousin. Two.
More than two.
Two.
More than two.
No. Two.
More than two.
Two.
More than two.
How would you know?
Hope has your yearbook.
Hope, you know when Hope graduated?
No, I don't know when she graduated.
Hope graduated. You know how old she is?
Isn't she like a year or two older than you?
No. She's in her 50s.
Colin,
Or late 40s.
you know you're not that far from 50, right?
She already graduated before I even got to high school, middle school. Yeah, she was already graduated.
Mm.
Yeah, she already graduated.
Mm-hmm. What about her sister?
Yeah, I went to school with her. We were in the same grade.
And what about Zell?
Yeah. Ozell didn't live near me.
Okay. Okay. Anyway.
She's going to tell me about my damn child.
I'm just saying, a lot of your family went to the school that closed. Wouldn't they also go to Hanahan? No?
No, some of them did, some of them didn't.
Okay. Sure.
It's split between a new high school and a existing high school. People that live a certain and a certain address went to the brand new high school. The rest of us went to the other side school.
Okay.
Did I have a couple of cousins? Yeah. But we all didn't live next to each other. Just me.
I never
Nicole.
said they lived right next to each other. All I said was, didn't you guys go to one house to watch it?
No.
And didn't they used to knock on your windows?
No.
The answer was yes to at least one of those.
No. If I went to my Julie house, then me, Nicole, whatever. Other than that, no.
You gave me stories about how people used to knock on your windows.
Yeah.
That it is, yeah.
Okay. And that will, anything you're watching?
Yes, I'm still watching The Boys, which you said was weird.
It is.
And I'm watching Beyond the Villa. I am mad at The Boys. They're getting rid of Gen V, which is another spinoff they had that was actually pretty good. They're canceling it. So it's in the middle of like a very grandiose storyline, and now there's not going to be any resolution. So great. And now they want to do a spinoff for Jensen Ackles' character, Soldier Boy. Why? I get it. He has a hardcore fan following. He definitely does. They loved him when he was in a show called Supernatural, which was also created by the same showrunner that's doing The Boys. But why do we need a spinoff for Soldier Boy? Whatever. Anyway. So that's happening. And then Beyond the Villa. I'm very confused with Beyond the Villa. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be super in-depth because it is Love Island still. It's a spinoff for Love Island. I don't understand fan reaction to some of the storylines we're getting. One, this is reality TV, which means it's scripted. It's not real. Reality TV is anything but real. So a lot of the scenarios and a lot of the supposed beefs that people are having are all part of production. And that was a major complaint during the run of Love Island season 7 that just passed. And these are the same people. But now all of a sudden there's a lot of like male centrist views about some of the women on the show. And I don't understand what exactly is happening. For example, right now they're all against this girl Hannah. She was this little blonde girl that was in there. They don't like how she's treating this other guy named Charlie. Mind you, Charlie has not been a great person. Like when she got out of the villa, she found out that like they don't have any of the same political viewpoints. He was talking a lot of matchmack when she left. And she made a decision for herself that she wasn't going to be associated with him. But apparently that's a problem because she's treating him one way, but treating this other guy, Pepe, who she also dated, a different way. And I'm like, I don't understand. If somebody likes one person but doesn't like the other person, that's the end of that. No one's entitled to anything, especially on a reality show. It's just, and then now they're all going after Amaya because they feel like she's not a girl's girl, which I really hate that term. Because she doesn't want to fuck with this girl named Belle Dasha. Because Belle Dasha is very much, have you met a girl who's like, I don't have friends with women. I'm not friends with women. I'm only friends with guys.
All of them?
All of them?
Yeah.
I'm confused what that means. But anyway, that's very much Bella Dasha. She's like, I don't have a lot of female friends. It's like they can't stand me. So I'm mostly just friends with guys. And it's like, okay.
Well, she's friends with guys because she's a whore.
I don't know about the whore part, but she is a pick-me. And it's coming across pretty strongly. But for whatever reason, people really take offense that Amaya doesn't want to be friends with this particular girl. And Amaya's whole stance is like, I want to be friends with who I want to be friends with. I don't understand what the problem is. I'm friends with who I want to be friends with. That's how that works. What are you talking about? And they just really have a problem with it. To the point where they're like, of course Amaya's not going to be friends with somebody who's not white. Amaya is Dominican. She's a proud Dominican. She talks about her Afro-Latina heritage. And the other person that allegedly they're isolating, it's Bella Dasha, this girl named Gracelyn, and this other girl named Coco. Gracelyn is white. Their argument doesn't make sense. So it's blowing my mind right now that a lot of people are siding with men where we have visual receipts of these men acting abhorrently. But they have an issue with the women because the women aren't forgiving these guys.
Because men don't have to be accountable now.
I guess.
It's time for women to be accountable because they haven't been accountable for decades.
Okay.
Since the dawn of time, women have not taken accountability for anything. So it's time.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. It's depressing right now. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I'm confused. I'm lost. Why does she owe this man a second chance when she doesn't like him? Anyway, whatever. But yeah, that's what I'm watching. The Boys, Beyond the Villa. I think that's it. Any other shows?
No.
You didn't catch up with something Sherry?
No. I gotta find it online.
Okay. And see what her story is. All right. Do you have a lyric? Make it Michael Jackson.
No. Why?
Can't stop till you get enough.
Tell me that it's human nature.
Is that the lyric? Is that the lyric?
Why? Does you do me like way? I like living that way. I like loving that way. Why?
Now I have more questions. What the heck is that song about?
That way. What? None of his songs make sense.
Okay.
None of them.
I thought it was like profound. I thought he was talking about something.
No.
Thank you for listening to We Like That podcast.
So we like that.
Go ahead and click that subscribe button. You know you want to. And rate us 5 stars. I'm Javon.
I'm Calvin.
Later, people.
And we're out.